Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. I think that we will start now, and those who join us a bit later will be able to see the recording of our event. Just two words about me, myself. My name is Sergey. I'm working at LeadHit. So we are bringing this event today in order to ensure that we bring some information and some insights on marketing practices. We brought two very professional experts for them to share their experience. They will briefly mention their background, and you will see that it really is quite important and quite useful for online retailers, and the experience they will share, I hope, will probably help you, to evaluate the process of your online store, how you do the things they will be discussing, and probably you will find this useful, and I hope that you will. In any case, me and my colleagues today will do our best in order to ensure that the information you receive is important, is useful, is kind of practically acceptable, and all this. So without any additional words, if our first speaker, and it is Matthew Carpentieri, is here, so let me just put him online, and we will be continuing with his presentation first. After that, we will have our second speaker, and me, myself, will be in the very end of this event, and I hope that you will stay with us till that moment. And Matt, hi, how are you? Good to see you from New York.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too.
That's great. So Matt, with that, I completely transfer the word to you for you to share your insights with our audience today. And before you start, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to use chat for that. Matt is more than happy to, as well as any other speakers today, will be more than happy to discuss everything which you think is appropriate in the context of our today's discussion. So please feel free to put your questions, and yeah, we would be happy to answer them. So Matt, the scene is yours.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Sergey, for setting this up. Very excited to do this. We're having some technical difficulties, so I will be doing this from my desk. But if you see anybody making some funny faces behind me, just try to ignore it.
That's okay. It's a working, environment. So this is exactly what we want.
Exactly.
Practical examples, yeah.
All right, let me just get the PowerPoint up. So today we're going to be going over channel marketing. I want to review optimizing a product offering on the channel side, and just really getting the most out of revenue that I possibly can on the channel side. My background, I'm the channel manager here at envelopes.com. We are the #1 envelope company on the internet, recognized top 1,000 internet retailer. And several times we've been recognized by Inc. 5000 as the fastest growing company. So just some channels we're involved in. We're involved in Staples, Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Jet, Office Depot, all of which are marketplace and dropship programs. It really kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Marketplace does give you probably a little bit more information in terms of metrics and data. The dropship side, you kind of have to ask them for that information, and if they allow you to have it, you can kind of use that data to optimize your SKUs, but certainly the marketplace allows you to kind of dig into that information. So just our agenda for today, we're going to be reviewing the basics and best practices. Then we'll be going into our impression versus conversions breakdown of the 4 categories. Just some action items that you can do for each category, tools that we use to on each action item for each category, and just some business cases, just giving examples of each. We'll be going into new products and existing products and what you can do based on impression and conversion data, and what you should be prioritizing, and we'll take questions at the end. So just basics and best practices. I'm sure you guys are all familiar, but just sessions are the number of visits to each one of your product pages. Conversions are the number of units purchased relative to the number of product pages visits. It's really important when we just start going into which category your product falls into to kind of know your metrics. You know, what is a high and low session rate per your channel and per your product category. And then on the conversion side as well, you need to really know what is a high and what is a low conversion rate per your channel and per your product category. For example, they always say Amazon as a whole, the conversion rate on average is 13%. So if you're below there, that 13% conversion mark, you would know that you fall into that low category for that product. And if it's above it, then you know you'd have a high conversion. So just jumping into the conversion rate chart. Again, sessions on top, conversions to the left. If you have a high sessions, high conversions, you fall into that really good category. Those are your best products. Moving over to the right, if you have low sessions but a high conversion rate, it's really opportunistic SKUs, because really all you're going to need is to get more visibility. Your offer is great, you just need to get more eyes on that offer. And then moving to the bottom left of the chart, we have high sessions, low conversions, meaning your offer is probably weaker than you would want it to be. Maybe your competitors have a better offer out there, and really it's just, you know, kind of optimizing that offer to get more sales and more revenue. On the bottom right hand corner, you have low conversions and low sessions, and that's really where most of you'll find your SKUs will fall into. Kind of the 80-20 rule. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your SKUs. So most often you're going to find a lot of the SKUs falling into that category, and it's just about, you know, how do you fix it? Going through each you know, SKU on every single detail and finding, you know, what really works per that SKU. What's wrong with it? So we'll start off with high sessions, high conversions, action items. Again, these products that fall into this category are your bread and butter. But because they're doing so well, they definitely have a bullseye on them, or most likely to have a bullseye on them. And it's really important that you monitor these products and monitor your competition. Things to just kind of keep a close eye on, that, you know, we keep a close eye on for these products are your competition's pricing. If you find that your competition drops their pricing, it could really affect your buy box. It could affect, you know, your revenue in general. You want to identify product differentiators, meaning that for our products, we sell envelopes. Obviously, we have a different seal compared to our competitors. So if we see that our competitors come into the field and they start stealing some of those sales, we'll make sure we emphasize our differentiators. So it's really not apples to apples. If we can't lower the price, we'll make sure that the customer knows that they're not buying the same product as what the competitors offering. Also, you want to consider bundling new product offerings. If you have a really great seller that's a skateboard, consider selling it with wheels and different pieces to fix it. You can really kind of increase the wallet size and purchase price, and just, again, try to milk more revenue out of that product. Also, if it's a top seller for you, consider replicating the product in multiple variants. Maybe selling the product in different colors. If you have a top seller that's a shoe, sell it in different colors, sell it in different quantities. Instead of selling, you know, a 50-pack of that envelope, we'll go ahead and sell 500-pack or 1,000-pack, and, you know, again, you can kind of get more sales that way as well. Just some tools that we would recommend that we use on our side for these action items. We use FeedVisor. It's a little pricey, but it monitors your pricing and buy box. If somebody enters into that product and, you know, they're selling it at a really great price, we'll be notified right away. You can also use it to fluctuate pricing based on velocity. So if you are selling a ton of that item per that day, your price can actually gradually move up, and then vice versa. If you're not selling that many and your competition starts coming in there, the price will automatically go down with their algorithm. So definitely would recommend FeedVisor, just a little bit on the pricey side. For Jungle Scout, you can actually, it's a little bit cheaper for this tool. You can track any product units sold, inventory, sales rank. For our top items, we'll definitely track our sales rank. It actually tracks it daily, which is also great. And then probably one of the better tools that's out there right now is Scope. I think it's like $30 a month. It's really not too costly. And you can go in there and per any product, you can investigate the competition sales rank, session conversion data, average monthly sales, revenue, profits. It really covers all of it. You can kind of get a good indication of what your competition is doing as well as what you're doing. Then just jumping into a business case, we had a product, A7 80-pound white. We had a competition jump in there and came in at a lower price. We were able to identify this immediately, and we were able to lower our price based on what we were purchasing the parent sheets for. And based on that, we were able to kind of lower price, meet the competition at where they were coming in at, and retain our sales rank and not really lose sales at all. Had we not been tracking their sales, or had we not been tracking their price, we would have just gone under the table and we would have lost sales. So it's really important that you understand that these products that fall in this category have the bullseye on and to monitor. Now jumping to that next category that's in the top right portion of it is low sessions, high conversions. These are high opportunity products. This is probably one of your higher opportunities that you can grow your revenue right off the bat. Really the main concern for this is getting more visibility. Your offer is right because it is converting so well. It's just getting more people to see your product. So to kind of get more eyes on it, you can advertise, whether it's Google advertising, Amazon advertising, on the ASP side or AMS side. Definitely want to advertise. Run promotions. Don't be afraid to do headline searches, do email campaigns. We've done things where we just offered buy one get one, and it has made a world of a difference, and it increases your sales rank, and it really just gets your product to the front of the headline searches. Increase your SEO, whether it's on the content side, on the title side. Just try to stick those words in there that people are going to be searching for, and that'll definitely get your sales rank up. For tools, we recommend Ecometrics. It's a great advertising ad campaign. It kind of does it automatically, and it's not too costly. So definitely take a look at that. Selix is something we haven't tried yet, but I've heard really good things. You're able to actually compare your top 3 competitors' titles, bullets, and descriptions. So say you have, again, say you're selling skateboards, and your content isn't just optimized, so people are searching and they're not finding your product. You can use Selix, and it'll show what your competitors are basically putting in their information, and you can utilize that to kind of get a good grasp of what people are also selling their products as. Also, merchant words, we actually use this. If you're selling sunglasses, you can pop sunglasses into merchant words, and it'll list out all the top keywords that people are searching to find sunglasses, whether it's black sunglasses, clear sunglasses. That'll all be listed, and I'll do it by the amount of clicks people are doing. So it's another great one. And then for business cases, we've run reports where we found almost like 100 of these SKUs. We overhauled the content. We found the campaign for each one of these SKUs, and then we increased our image count, which is really important. If you have more than just one image, that really makes a difference. And we actually wound up increasing month over month our revenue for these SKUs by 150%, and we'll continue to see that increase. That's just 1 month to another month, but as that sales rank creeps up, you're just going to keep seeing that revenue grow. So now we're moving into that bottom left portion of high sessions, low conversions. These products, they are getting the visibility. People are seeing them. So your content most likely is optimized for SEO. You probably are advertising. The problem is the offer. People are just looking at it, and whether it's your competition's pricing is just not right, or they're feeling the value is just not there, you want to make sure that that you're kind of optimizing your offer to getting the conversion rate back up. I would always suggest before doing anything, investigate your reviews. People are going to go in your reviews and say, hey, look, this was just too expensive. It's not worth it. Or they'll say, I got this product. It wasn't what I thought. It had a crease in it, or the color was off. And that'll give you a good indication of where to start. If the reviews don't kind of give you, what you're looking for, review your pricing. Look at your competition, see what they're pricing it at, see what, go on other channels, see what they're pricing at. You might find just in a normal Google search, really where you should be at in terms of pricing. Review content, I would put that more towards the back end because it is getting visibility, but make sure that what you're selling is actually what the customer is going to get. Sometimes your content could be off because of a mistake, and the customer gets something different. The reviews show it, and then you can kind of correct it that way. And then you also want to check it if it's a prime offer, if it's competitive shipping, if your competitors are offering 2-day shipping and you're only offering 7-day shipping. It's a big deal to customers, so you want to make sure that you're offering the best offer possible. Some tools we would suggest, AMA Suite, they offer a whole bunch of products, but I think you can use them as an a la carte. You can basically shows all your reviews for a product, and instead of going in one by one and going to the product pages, you can kind of just get fed a huge list and then go through that one by one. Also, again, FeedVisor monitors pricing, and you can implement variable based on velocity. That'll help just showing that your competition entered and it's a little bit better pricing, and it certainly helps. Business case on our end, we found that this category has significantly more SKUs than probably the other categories. What we did was we found about 400 of these SKUs, 500 of these SKUs, and we created an ongoing list. It's timely because you want to make sure that you're updating these products solely as each they have their own different story. You don't want to just do broad strokes or broad fixes because each one may be different. One may have, may need a new image because the coloring is not right on it. The next one may have a pricing issue. So just to create an ongoing list and just find solutions for each different one is definitely the way I would treat this. And then going to the bottom right corner of that category is low sessions, low conversions. Again, this falls into that 80-20 rule where 80% of your business comes from 20% of your products. So for the most part, and I think most companies will find that most of their products will be found in this category where they're not getting the visibility and the offer just isn't right. And there's a lot of reasons why that could be. It could be that you need to find more visibility. So you may need to advertise, you may need to do some promotions. I would also investigate the reviews again, see what's going on. What are people saying about it? Is it just a matter of, needing better content, needing a better offer? So looking to your competition's pricing as well, optimize the content just for SEO purposes, increase your images or videos. Videos are definitely huge. And again, is your product prime? Is it competitive shipping? For tools, again, I would recommend each one of the ones I mentioned previously: AMA Suite, FeedVisor, Techometrics, Selix, Merchant Words. You're finding yourself where just you need that visibility and you need to optimize that offer. So each one of these can definitely help you optimize each one of those categories. And just a business case for us, we have about 12,000 SKUs. So we found thousands of these that were underperforming, and we thought that could do better compared to our other products. So we made an ongoing list, just created several columns of increasing the SEO, going through the reviews, finding out what the fingerprint of each product was, and making sure that we can optimize it based on that problem. Again, no broad stroke fixes for these products. You just want to make sure that you're finding out the problem. Again, new products versus existing products. For new products, it's really important to focus on conversion first, then visibility. You want to make sure your offer is right, and then start paying for advertising, paying for promotions, discounting your product, and then getting that sales rank up. Each product has its own product life cycle, and if you're just going to get the visibility and your offer is not right, you're just going to be wasting time and money. Make sure you get that offer right and get that competitive space. For existing products, find out which bucket your product falls into, and then create action items. And the way to start that is just really know your metrics, know where to start, and then go from there. And we'll be taking questions.
Okay, Matt, thank you so much. It was quite an exciting piece of information, I should say. And before and until we are waiting for some questions from the auditory, but genuinely, I would also have one question. I noticed that you mentioned no less than 5 instruments actually, which you use in your practical work and all this. Do they really help It's my first question. And why so much of the tools? I am not the best expert, let's be frank, in the channels marketing and this. We are more about a bit different. So that is why your opinion here would be very much appreciated. So many tools, all of them are about different types of the services they provide, or they just supplement each other in this or that manner. So what's the reason?
So, I mean, there are a ton of tools out there. I mean, every day there's going to be more and more tools that are coming out. For us, it's prioritizing what's necessary. You know, like, how are we going to get the most out of our revenue without spending the most? Because anytime we spend money on a tool, we consider that's eating into our profits. Our profit margins are going down because of those tools. So we need to make sure that we're getting the lowest hanging fruit from those tools that we're using. We've had success with some tools. We've had, you know, unsuccessful cases with other tools. So these, for us, for our business, for our product category, we've found most success for us. That doesn't mean that that'll be good for your product category. I would recommend research every single tool you find, try it, do some A/B testing, see what works, and then go from there. Don't just, you know, throw all your SKUs into one tool and assume that because it worked for us, it's going to work for you. You want to just, you know, make sure that and see what your competition's using too. There's forums out there, and you know, everybody's willing to help. So
I agree.
Those have been for us.
A/B testing as one of the most important slogans for each and everybody's activities. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so let's propose our audience to still kind of, if they have questions, please, guys, send them to us. We will be forwarding them to Matt, who I hope will kindly agree to respond even a bit after our presentation today. So Matt, again, thank you so much for your presentation. It was in terms of your practical approach to the whole business stuff, to in your particular online store. So it's kind of great. So thank you again. Thank you, and have a good day. Cheers, Matt. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, so that was actually it from Matt Carpentieri. It was kind of nice piece of information about this channel marketing. And still, by the way, guys, if you need the presentations of today, if you need the recording, just send us, drop us a line, and we will send you the necessary materials. It is our pleasure. So you would be always, you know, able to take a look at the instruments Matt mentioned, and probably some of them will also be useful in your particular business activity. So I guess this might be a real help, I would say. And with that, let me introduce our second speaker. It's Mia Papolu. Let me invite her on screen, and she will bring her piece of information about the ways of battling shopping cart abandonment and how to increase the sales rate with the help of the techniques which, you know, help, you know, retain those who left the shopping cart abandoned and made no purchase. So let me just invite me on screen. Hello, Mia. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, quite okay. Thank you. Good to see you. And yeah, please go ahead.
Great.
The floor is...
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen.
Absolutely.
So you said to just do play from start, right?
Yes.
Application. There we go. Great.
Oh.
Are you able to see?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sergey, for having me today. So definitely have been on the vendor and the buyer side of e-commerce. So have seen a lot of things in mobility and omni-channel personalization and emerging tech. So I hope to share some of those insights with you, and I hope it's helpful for you. So let me just start off with a little bit of background on myself, and then just a little bit of an outline of what we're going to expect for today's presentation. So my background, I've been in e-commerce, enterprise SaaS. I'm a digital strategist, and currently a co-founder on new ventures in social and visual commerce, which are really emerging space right now. And we haven't officially launched our products yet, but I can say that these are next generation tools to connect brands with consumers to deliver authentic marketing. And we'll touch upon this a little bit later in the presentation, but also want to touch upon my previous background working at a Silicon Valley startup here that was acquired. It was an e-commerce software and platform that a lot of big brands used, like Macy's, Keurig Coffee. I've worked with Tom's Shoes. A lot of Fortune 500 brands had used our software. So it was an exciting time. And then previously I was in more corporate strategy at Deloitte, Chanel, and also consistently consulting those brands in retail and CPG space. So in terms of the outline for today, what I want to talk about is segmenting the different types of e-commerce shopping cart abandonment. Of course, it's a big topic, but exactly knowing what is the stage is very important. And then, of course, more generally, what are the behavioral, psychological reasons behind cart abandonment that are in your control, that are not in your control? And then just going over common practices and conversion tactics. But it's really important to know when to apply those tactics best. And then last but not least, what are some of those innovative techniques using user-generated content, widgets for abandoned cart campaigns? So I just want to start off with these slides because in general, the reality is that 40% of e-commerce website visitors when they actually make a purchase. And if you actually look at the completion rates by device, you'll see that it's even as small as 8% on mobile, with desktop channel, the traditional web browser application, resulting in the highest conversion rates. So there is a lot to be said about this. And the broader picture, though, is that even though there's billions and trillions in global e-commerce revenue, the shopping cart abandonment is certainly a key KPI for individual e-commerce brands and managers to understand exactly what are those reasons that shoppers leave that shopping experience on their site. What are the channels? Are they using desktop, mobile? And again, what are those most effective? And is their site optimized for that seamless customer experiences that purchases are more likely to happen rather than losing potential buyers because of maybe inefficiencies, some like loopholes that could have easily been fixed. So again, I want to go over all of that. And at the end of the day, email campaigns and retargeting are the most effective methods of recovering customers. But again, the way to actually personalize and retarget must be done in a very calculated way by segmentation. So that's what we'll talk about now. So segmenting abandonment is a calculated way to approach what's the stage that people leave their shopping experience on the retailer website. So this is important for, again, the right type of personalization in emails and retargeting. And what we typically see, while this is not limited to these three stages, the three main areas of abandonment are laid out in browse abandonment, in shopping cart abandonment, and in checkout process. So that seems pretty obvious, but it's really important to actually hone in on these stages and through the right type of analytic tracking, Google Analytics, funnels, whatever it is, understand exactly when is it that people are bouncing and how to bring them back with in the right way. So the first type of abandonment is called browse abandonment, also known as product category. And this happens when people are just browsing, they're looking for product. They haven't necessarily added anything to their cart, but this is also just a point of interest and discovery for consumers. So when you notice people are bouncing from these types of pages, it's kind of best practice to retarget them within a day or so after a browse abandonment with, again, the category page, the product image. Let's say, are you still looking for women's dresses? Don't miss out on this product. So this kind of strong call to action and also offering shopping options can bring people back to that page, that category, and the site in general. And another stage of abandonment is actually checkout abandonment. And this is actually a more qualified, serious customer. They're in the checkout stage, which means they're already filling out the information, they're ready to check out. But I have to emphasize how important it is to ensure, once again, a seamless checkout process. There are, just make sure there's minimal steps. There's that guest checkout feature, so people don't have to necessarily sign up. And also payment integrations. People want to pay with PayPal, Apple Pay, whatever it is. So having all those kinds of simplicity is very important. But despite all of this, inevitably, people will still bounce. And in these cases, a prompt follow-up at least 24 hours after the abandonment with the list of products left in the cart and a call to action to continue to shop is very effective. So urgency, as you can see here, like hurry, you might miss out. Or good news, we can restore your cart. So these are pretty, I would say, effective ways of bringing people back. And then another stage of abandonment is actually shopping cart abandonment itself. So here, it's not that they're already in the checkout process, but they've already added things to their cart. Who knows? Maybe they're using it as a wish list. But they are more serious than research and discovery. But what's effective here is to email within at least 2 days and keep reminding them with a header, a headline, the list of the product images of the items in the cart, and a direct link back to enter that checkout process. So I want to emphasize that the timing is not set in stone. It's best for you to strategize on what works best for your situation, your product. But really, the key takeaway is to ensure that you are making those touch points with the customers within those next few days to remain relevant, to remain on top of mind. And again, these are pretty good tactics in reducing the cart abandonment rate. But again, despite all of this, people may still bounce. And at the end of the day, it's nothing personal. It's just there are some common reasons for cart abandonment. It could be shipping costs, which are a huge deterrent. People go through that whole process, and in the end, they determine that maybe that $8 extra, that $10 extra is just not worth it for them to make that buy. And again, new account creation, when every day now we're inundated with tons of emails. So if you take the pressure off the consumer, allowing them to do just a guest checkout rather than committing to register, be a new member, people might think twice in these situations. So just make it simple for them. And of course, reducing the friction, making checkout experience very seamless with very few minimal fields. And again, there are areas that you just can't control. People are just researching, they're shopping around the competition, or they're waiting for the discount code to arrive to make that purchase, in which case it's nice to know who those consumers are and target them with that first-time buyer coupon, whatever it may be. And so this view is just more intended to give you like the statistical numbers backed reason for bouncing, and to reemphasize shipping costs are huge. And though it's hard from a retailer's perspective to absorb these costs, the more transparency there is from the beginning, the less likely there is to be surprises. So people know from the start exactly what's the minimum order. They know what they're getting into. So again, less surprises in terms of cart abandonment with that ensured transparency. And another huge point is they're just not ready to purchase. And so the retargeting, the email reminders, this is all really important to get people to revisit you and ultimately convert you. And again, we want to touch about just complexity, right? Just not asking for too much information. Best practice is to keep it simple, especially and intuitive in these direct-to-consumer channels. So with that, let's just go over some of the common practices, which seem obvious, but it's important to know exactly when to use these. Pop-ups, as you can see, pop-ups are a great way when people revisit sites, just having some kind of a call to action. You know, there's free shipping because that's a big incentive right there. Did you know? Getting people back, or directly in their email with some really catchy subject line. There's something sweet in your inbox, something to sweeten your day with a coupon. Or also facilitating cross-channel. Suppose people are browsing product, but they don't want to go purchase it online. So you can ensure that they have the choice to pick it up in store. So facilitating that cross-channel type of shopping experience is also great. Other common practices are just reminders that there's something in your cart, as we covered before, and also this type of call to action, redirection directly to that cart. And Facebook ads are huge because, you know, the next thing you're on a social channel, if you have this in place, people will see the product again on their feed. And coupon incentives are also really great to get people to actually go back and make that first purchase. So this is always very compelling. And I think now we can talk about a little bit more about some of the more innovative latest trends in email campaigns and retargeting through user-generated content. So these are widgets that you can use for abandoned cart email campaigns. So what is exactly user-generated content? And what it is if you go through social media, through hashtags, you might find these types of various original content made by brand and advocates, whether they're sponsored or they're not. And again, this shows that there's a lot of consumers out there that they want to tell the brand story. And it's becoming more and more common practice for brands to be able to leverage these kinds of influencers, bloggers, or just everyday people to be part of that storytelling process. And the best way to leverage user-generated content is to integrate with the social media channels and position this type of content within their campaigns. And from an authenticity perspective, it's really nice to know that there is not only just the brand made, not just the content that the brand made, there's also content that the consumers made. So in this example, you can see in the giggle, this is the actual product, but this carousel is of all the actual posts that moms use. So again, it's very compelling to see that not only are brands sending message, but consumers are part of that storytelling process. So this is kind of a very great way to integrate with social channels, acquire and position this content within your emails, within your retargeting efforts. And also what we've seen a lot is that there is an increased click-through rate because of the curiosity that it generates and a higher revenue generated per email through user-generated content. So actually, that is pretty much all I've had for our presentation today. These are, again, just suggestions, best practices. Just always know that you need to understand how to segment abandonment. Exactly what is it? You know, where is it happening? At what point? Applying the right type of campaign and the strategies to drive consumers home, and just keeping up the momentum and building the relationship with the consumer, whether it's, again, emails, leveraging user-generated content, and just driving people home through these types of innovative tactics.
That's great, Mia. Thank you so much. It was very interesting, I should say. And, you know, while we are waiting for possible questions from audience, I have one question. You said that it is around 41% of the visitors who are not ready to make a purchase. Which generally, as far as I understand, is kind of the question of motivation, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So your question is exactly like what is the motivation, or?
No, actually, it means that what you think would be the best motivation for these for actually quite a big number of visitors. So 41% is quite a big. So it's very important to reach them and, you know, motivate them to make this purchase, right?
Absolutely, exactly. I mean, as I covered before, there's millions of dollars in e-commerce, but at the end of the day, you just don't know what it is that motivates the customer. So you really have to dig deep. That's why data is so key right now, setting up the right type of analytics, the funnel tracking to understand what's the problem, what's the loopholes, is it you or is it them? And if it's you, just make sure everything is optimized on the site to make it easy. And the things that are not in your control, then again, that's just about building the relationship with the customer and bringing them home. So I think that is the key to battling shopping cart abandonment.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, interesting enough, based on our experience of working in different countries, actually in Europe and in Russia and in the US now, we noticed that there is quite a huge difference in this particular figure depending on the country, you know. So, for example, in Europe and in Russia as well, maybe it's just because of some kind of mentality or whatever, you would find that this figure, which is 41%, which I genuinely think is more US related, be around 60 or even 70%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of great stuff with which you should really work in order to ensure that they either really don't abandon the cart, because they do often, as you perfectly mentioned, they do often use this shopping cart as kind of wish list or whatever, which they simply, you know, fill in, but never kind of return to make a purchase. So this is generally right, as you said, this is the audience with which you should work, in fact. And that is why, thank you for the techniques you mentioned relating to each and every particular step of the abandonment process, which is definitely kind of distinguishing between different, you know, steps which a visitor takes during its shopping path. So yeah, thank you so much. Mia, thank you. And as I mentioned, we would be very pleased if the audience asks us a question which is in your area of expertise, if you send your replies and continue your nice relationships with the audience. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys, so thank you so much. This actually was our first two speakers, and I am very grateful to Matt and Mia for their input and their insights. Moreover, that as they noticed, it is based on their practical experience, and we just seen it. So the last part of our today's event, of our today's summit, is a presentation of mine, where I will try to briefly, you know, show the major interesting facts we noticed in the online marketing approaches in different countries, which I think might be interesting actually to different representatives of different countries of the industry, because in fact this shows what is the approach which is generally taken in this or that particular jurisdiction, and whether, you know, something might be useful and could be adopted in a different jurisdiction or not. So let me just start my presentation here and share our insights with you. So here it is. Okay, just a few words about LeadHit for you to understand that what I'm going to say is actually, as for all our presenters, is based on practice and on what we've seen. We were quite long living in the market and in the industry. We established our service in 2011, and since then we've been, you know, expanding in different countries and, you know, taking much of the local activities from each and every particular jurisdiction. So we have kind of lots of clients, and it's it, and they say a lot of nice words as always. So this is not pretty much interesting, I should say. But what we are going to say today and what we are going to focus on are actually the following items. First of all, I want to again, you know, take a brief look on the existing e-commerce practices and results based on different jurisdictions and then some common area of this jurisdiction. So how is it possible to improve existing approaches and how to sell more? So what could be achieved with smart marketing? Yeah, and I will briefly try to explain what smart marketing is, in my opinion at least. And I will show you exactly what are the smart marketing tools, what they can bring in terms of results to your stores, based on the real examples and based on the figures and of income and of, you know, turnover of some of our clients. So, and the most important thing which I want to, you know, focus on from the very beginning, this presentation is not really intended to motivate you to go to LeadHit and buy LeadHit. No, of course we would be pleased to if you go and do that, but the major goal of mine today is to ensure that you kind of understand what could be the approach, and in fact implemented the approach on your own side, even with your in-house instruments. Because in fact, what we do is, it is not a rocket science, I would say, but and that is why maybe it is not so widespread now, because a lot of people think that, well, this is not a rocket science, why do we need this? But I hope you will see that if you do this, the results you receive will really be much more significant as compared to the existing results. So with no additional word, just to summarize, as our previous speakers, recent speakers noticed, generally e-commerce, sorry for not very big font, but I will explain. E-commerce generally has kind of standard tools which we all use, which actually use all online retailers, at least till the moment, and they will be using it kind of for quite a while from this particular moment as well. So these tools are widgets, mailings, product recommendations, and shopping cart abandonment solutions. The ones which have been discussed with me just a couple of minutes ago. So this is generally obvious and kind of standard, but as always, there is a devil in the details, and those details should be, of course, taken into consideration in order to ensure that, in fact, those generally acceptable tools work properly. So what is the devil in those details? Widgets. Generally, the problem of widgets now, and we see it specifically for US, for example, they are not data-based. I see a lot of different widgets on online stores, which actually are intended to motivate, I guess, the visitors, but they are not really based on data. They are not based on the real activity which is implemented by each and every particular visitor. So, for example, you are all aware of these, as I say, crazy pop-ups, which, they are still in use, and you would see a lot of them on US stores. So when you come to a store, let's say you browse the site, you just started browsing the site, and you see this widget proposing a discount or a bonus or whatever. Look, guys, you don't even know whether I'm motivated or not when I come to your site. Maybe I'm already motivated. Maybe I already want to make a purchase, So why do you have to spend your money and give me some kind of an extra motivation? Or alternatively, if I'm not motivated at all, I will most likely close your window. And then if I kind of become motivated and decide to make a purchase, I won't be able to find this window again. And this would be a bit frustrating, I would say. So this is the problem of widgets, for example. The market is generally fragmented. The reason why I asked Matt, for example, in the very beginning, I was a bit surprised, with all those tools, which is there is a legion, a big number of these tools. And I'm glad that, for example, particular stores, like, for example, Matt's, found the ideal kind of composition of those tools. But generally, in online marketing, as we all know, the market is quite fragmented. There is a bunch of tools. None of them are interconnected. They provide poor data and no smart interaction, So you just can't really understand what is the figures they show, and whether these figures, how these figures could be used in order to motivate, not just to, have some poor statistics, but actually how to make, based on these figures and based on these particular instruments, how to make the visitors come back to your store and, make a purchase. So, of course, it is almost impossible to bring together all the data if they are separated. So what you have to do, you just have to ensure that those instruments you use are interconnected. That's the major point. Another stuff, coming back to those standard marketing tools, mailings. So bad mailings is still the result of what we've just said. I personally receive a lot of, kind of bullshit mails very often with the products I don't really need. or with some general information which is not of interest to me. And I'm sure, guys, you are on the same boat, I would say. And you know, this is just another example. If you take a look at the dates, one and the same store sends me, you know, their mails almost 2 days, one after another. You know, this doesn't work this way. And these are big stores, I should say, and I still wonder what is the reason behind, you know, and I don't see any answer. So we also have done our homework, I would say, and these are the figures. We had a survey for around 5,000 different site visitors. Still, we have a lot of clients, and they agreed that we interact with their visitors. So these are the figures which actually show what is the most, you know, annoying factors for the visitors of online retailers, and why these guys, why those visitors decide not to buy. And if you take a look at the 3 top items in this list, you would see that the major reasons for that is that either there is too many emails from store, as I just mentioned and showed you, or emails which you receive and open don't really provide you with the information about the products which is relevant to your particular interest, or you have some kind of annoying attention of the store towards you during your browsing experience and during your shopping path, which actually drives you crazy and, you know, makes you to decide to leave the store. So there is a bunch of different other reasons, but in terms of figures, we were surprised, frankly, to see them. So personally, when you read this list, you would, I'm sure, feel the same as those 5,000 people we've been talking, you know, about all this. So having in mind all this, how could how could an online retailer improve and sell more? Well, of course, the major factor is that you have, you know, to make a data collection, right? Analyze the data you receive, and based on this data, make a proper selection, you know, of the data to use and the visitor to, you know, apply. Then the major factor, you know, and this is what I say almost in every jurisdiction we work in, pay respect, you know, show respect to your customer, show respect to your visitor. This actually is the philosophy of mine now, because once I've actually seen a lot of business cases where we have all these crazy pop-ups, all these bullshit emails coming, you know, often and with the relevant products. So you don't show, let's say, those online retailers don't show any respect. They, as I say, they are trying to squeeze more juice, not by applying a particular force to each and every particular lemon, but rather they are trying to get as much lemons as they could and just use the press to get this juice based on the mass pressing, on mass figures. This doesn't work this way, you know. The market and the customers need this respect. So these 2 factors would bring you a success, and they will show why. So another way, or maybe not another way, but rather kind of one more step in this improving practice is to try to find maybe not a lot of different instruments, but either a combination of quite a few instruments, or better, 1 or 2 instruments at all, which would combine all the different tools which we mentioned about. Why it is important is just because it allows those tools to be interconnected and automated. In this case, you don't have to spend your time, and you are aware and sure that actually all the data your tools receive is properly used for each and every tool. And this is actually how the whole magic happens, I would say. And of course, you should automate, because otherwise, in our modern world, I would say, of big figures, you know, of kind of lack of time and efforts, and moreover, kind of limited budgets, you won't be able to use proper tools if you have to manually do almost everything, or at least even something. Automation is the key to survive. So as I said, and you have to show respect to your visitors to succeed, yeah? Unfortunately today, as I mentioned, the approach is, using big figures and trying to turn big figures of customers into big figures in terms of money. This doesn't work this way. You either approach each and every particular customer and provide him or her with a tailored experience, or you just, lose quite a big amount of your auditory, which is not good. The major and the key point here, how to ensure that you have all this data, is that you start tracking your visitor right from the very beginning, which means that you start tracking your visitor even when it is anonymous still. So a lot of shops we've been talking to and we are working now with, so they, even if they had the tracking tools and tracking instruments, they still switch them on, I would say, when the visitor became, known to the store. So for example, when the visitor, filled in the form or whatever, but in fact, as we all understand, the visitor starts, filing the form actually almost in the very end of the shopping path experience. And in this case, it is generally almost impossible to figure out what is the real interest of this particular visitor. So you should track visitor right from the very beginning when he or her just entered the site. And of course, you should do what is now normal. You just have to make it friendly on desktop or on mobile and all these. But still, again, the major factor now is data. So I'm not, kind of saying something new, but this is very often forgotten, I should say, by many stores we have seen, and by many stores we are working with now. This is not should be done in this way, I guess. So go beyond Google Analytics as well. It doesn't actually, Google Analytics is good, but it is more about a more strategic understanding of what is the state of affairs, I would say, what is the current status of the store and all this. But what you should do, you should concentrate both for anonymous and identified visitors on particular items relating to this and that visitor. And these items are their path history, their intent history, which is very important, their ongoing interests, and their possible interests. So, first of all, of course, recognition. You should ensure that, you should ensure that anonymous visitors becomes an identified visitor, of course. So how you do this? You do this by means of your standard forms, like registration, checkout, or whatever, and with the help of special widgets, of course, as we mentioned. The major factor is, of course, to ensure that the widgets you use are more focused on the intent and activity of a particular visitor, and not, blast each and every time they see someone, browsing your site and trying to find something. So you should track the activity of each visitor, as I said. Yeah, you should step by step, understand that they entered the site, just use your forms to identify them, try to recognize them, track shopping path, predict their interest. What is prediction of interest? In fact, if you collect the data, this is very important. If you collect the data for each and every visitor you have, if you analyze this data, if you make a segmentation of this data, and therefore, if you have a big data, then you are able to, with an almost 100% certainty, predict which is the possible interest of a particular visitor based on the activity this visitor actually makes on your site. So you can predict based on the big data you have. The major factor is for you to have this big data, not to forget about it. Yeah. So you should understand whether or not a purchaser or a visitor, you know, is interested in making a purchase or is kind of going to leave the site. Importantly, you should understand exactly the moment when the visitor leaves the site. Why this is so important? As far as we know, a lot of sites don't really track the moment when the visitor actually, you know, left the site. They just, you know, calculate the delay in activity of a visitor. Sometimes, most of the shops don't do even that. But this is very important because based on this moment, you can understand when to do a next touch with this visitor, you know, when to send an email or when to make a call if necessary, and all this. And once you understood when this visitor actually left the site, then you just go and try to motivate them, yeah? So you should track the shopping path, visited pages, seen products, time spent on each page and or on a particular product, mouse moves, and all this. All these you should collect, all these you should have for each and every particular visitor. Sorry for my repeating this, but this is very important, not for all visitors, but for each and every particular visitor. Only this will allow you have a real understanding of real interests of your particular visitor and give you a good understanding of how to motivate each visitor you have on your site. So you have to identify intent of a visitor, yeah? What does it mean? You should already know what this visitor probably was interested in during his previous sessions. So for example, you have, as every store, you have returning visitors, and you should be aware that this is that visitor and this is what he was interested in during his previous visits. So also you should understand what is his present interest. And based on these two factors, you can understand what could be his future interest, let's say, what might interest this visitor and what you could offer him in order to motivate this visitor to make a purchase. So these two factors, real interests of visitors and potential interests of visitors, are the key factors for success in motivation these visitors, you know, to make a purchase. So when you do this tracking, you understand in a proper way how you could make this motivation. So you don't have contacts of a visitor, for example, you should motivate them to leave the contacts. So no purchase was made, you understand how you can motivate the visitor to make a purchase. Shopping cart was abandoned, then you should, you know, deal with it in a proper way. I will show how you could deal with it, for example. So you haven't seen this visitor for a long time, you know how to motivate them again. And all this, you know, and all this is based again on the data you collect, on the data you store, and on the data you actually analyze, segment, and use. So motivation is all about timing, as I say, you know. You don't have to blast your pop-ups, which happens quite often. You don't have to send your emails unwisely. You don't have to send your emails one after another in 2 days or 3 days period. No, guys, again, maybe 2 emails per month, it is more than enough, you know, as a general rule at least. Based on the data, you could predict other paths, but again. So don't disregard the shopping path. And all this, if you have this information, you can figure out what is the best timing for each and every tool to, you know, enter into play for each and every particular visitor, you know. So this is the major factor. Data is the basis for proper motivation, is the basis for proper timing for this motivation. So widgets are good, as I said, but they should be used right. So, and generally, there are only 2 factors for when the widget is used right, you know. Either a visitor has a problem on your site, or the visitor is leaving with no purchase. So then, you know, you should motivate and you should kind of show him a widget. And in this case, this would be the best way, you know, to motivate. Mails also are good, but mails should be structured in a proper way. And what I mean by saying structured in a proper way is actually the following. The key factor there is that you show to the visitor exactly the products which he or her were interested in. You don't send them some general information, you know. You send them those products they were interested in and products which might be interesting to this visitor based on the data you have about this visitor. So you may make a recommendation, but your recommendation should be data-based, you know, and this data should be only this visitor related, not kind of it shouldn't be an old rack you have on your storage facility and you are going to get rid of, you know, because you will never succeed with this. And all other factors in the email which you could use, they are more or less standard, but again, you know, not every online store remembers about that. So you should have a proper motivation. You should have a limited time offer, because in fact, this really helps. You should have a call to action button there and all this. But again, data as a basis for proper and relevant motivation. So shopping cart solutions are perfect. The only problem with them is that almost none of the shops we at least we are aware of, and those shops with which we've been in dealings, I would say, they don't actually use them, and this is bad. Please deploy these instruments. They really help, and Mia just told us and confirmed this. In fact, these shopping cart solutions is a really, you know, they help us to get rid of quite a huge headache, I would say. And another interesting moment for shopping cart solutions is that your sales or account department, you know, communicating with purchasers should be notified each and every time the shopping cart was abandoned. And I will show you what it would bring to you in terms of figures, and you would be surprised, I should say. So what you could achieve if you use the approach I just, you know, mentioned for each and every e-commerce tool. So this is generally the funnel, which could be a bit different from a standard funnel, I would say. This additional lead and sales generation is really exciting. But what is more exciting is the real figure in terms of money and sales. So here are some kind of not general, but rather average results of smart tools. Smart meaning using those principles and tactics which I've just mentioned. So these are just an additional sales which you could see in the column of results. It is really, you know, exciting. And this, if you take a look at the results of mails which are sent based on the principles mentioned by me just a couple of moments ago, I can say that those figures are just awesome, because in fact this open rate, click rate, and return rate is increasing significantly if you use this smart approach, as I say. And here, by the way, is the figure for one of our clients, which is obtained by this client implementing the principles and approaches I just mentioned. So the result in total was around 500,000 additional sales. 500,000 additional sales in 6 months. I would say it's kind of good result, yeah? And another example, 300,000 in 6 months, also not too bad, I should say. It of course depends generally on an average check of your store, on the category of product you work with, but in fact the whole ratio of increase is kind of exciting. So how these smart tools could work. And this is now where I can say that you just have to understand the principle, and you can do this based on your in-house tools. Please feel free to use the approach we share, and please feel free to implement it in your in-house tools if you use them. So as I said, wish list or whatever, let's say pop-ups should solve a problem. Or as Mia mentioned, for example, a lot of people use checkout or shopping cart as a wish list. Yeah, just in order to not to forget about the products they've been looking at and all this. But help the visitor, just make a special widget which will be shown to the visitor, let's say, after the visitor takes a look at 3 or 4 products, show the visitor a widget which will propose, you know, to save these products and to mail these products to this customer of yours. You will actually help this visitor to solve 2 problems. First, you will understand, you will identify this visitor. I mean, you will get his email. And second, you will solve a problem this visitor has. So you will remind him about the products he or her were looking at. So, as I said, this wish list then, if you send it to, if you send an email with the products the visitor was interested in and put into his wish list, you will motivate such a visitor to make a purchase. And moreover, you just structure this email properly. Another widget is a smart offer, as we call it. So you just have to, you don't have to, you know, make these pop-ups in the very beginning. You have to put them in the very end of the shopping path, and you should only show them if you see that the visitor didn't make any purchase. So in this case, it means that he or her needs an additional motivation, and only in this case you should, you know, show them a widget and ask them for an email in exchange of bonus or discount or whatever, because these visitors definitely need additional motivation, but only in this moment, not then they just come to your store. So again, this tool should be all about motivation. You should motivate, you should structure the email of yours in the way which is motivating. And again, you should use the data you have about this particular visitor to show him the products he or her were interested in, not any other products, just those products, or the products you think might be interesting based on the real data you have about this visitor. So yes, product recommendations are good. They should be only based on the real data you have. Abandoned shopping cart motivation, Mia actually told us about that. The major thing is, you know, to again structure the email properly. And what I was saying when I mentioned this necessity to notify your sales or account department about abandoned shopping carts is actually the following. If you have a possibility to notify your sales or accountants account department about the abandoned shopping cart, you could then give them a good piece of information for them to contact this visitor directly and motivate them in person. You know, interesting enough, this instrument of ours, which is used by some of the stores in Europe, showed a significant increase in sales. And you know, surprisingly enough, almost none of the visitors who were contacted by store, because our major fear was that if you as a store make a call to your visitors saying that, look guy, we noticed that you actually wanted to make a purchase, but maybe you need some additional motivation, or we have, you know, a gift or a bonus for you. So our fear was that the recipients of such calls would be annoyed receiving such calls. But the surprise was that almost none of them, indeed, you have a lot of different people, you know, and they react differently. But those who put their product in the shopping cart and then receive a call from a store with an additional motivation like bonus or whatever, they don't go, and they are not pissed off, I would say. They're very positively, you know, they look positively into this opportunity to get something nice and good for them. And moreover, interestingly enough, the loyalty of such visitor increases, not decreases as our fear was, which is great. So, of course, all customers should be duly thanked, and almost every store does that. The only problem is that this thank you email we receive doesn't really contain, again, is not really based on the data you have, and does not provide an additional motivation for the products, which could be interested in addition to the products already received or purchased by your customer. And of course, you should contact your inactive customers to come back and, you know, visit you again. But please, again, do this based on the data you have in terms of each and every particular visitor. Use this data in each and every email. Structure your emails differently. Tailor your emails in order to reflect interest of each and every visitor. Don't send mass mailings. Don't send general information. It almost doesn't work. It doesn't work as well as it should. So an easy way to try all these smart tools, one possibility is, you know, to come to LeadHit and ask us to do that, and we would be more than pleased to. But again, you can do this yourselves. I can tell you this for sure. This is, yes, it takes some time. Yes, it takes some efforts of your IT department and all these. If you have time and efforts, if you have time and if you have enough employees, you can do this yourself. If you don't, you can come to us or to different service providers and try the instruments. The major factor, you just ensure that the data they collect and the way they process this data and interact with the visitors is in line with the principles we just mentioned. If you come to us, for you we have some special bonus, I would say, only for those who are here today with us. This is what we definitely more than glad to provide you. So you would have this 1 month free, and we also have a total of 3,500 credit for 3 months. So it generally means that for most shops it would be almost 4 months of a free trial period, I would say. But it is okay, you know, for us it is okay, because in fact, again, after more than 6 years in market, what we figured out is that the respectful approach of online retailers to their visitors is lost now. And what we want to do is we just want to ensure that it is back, you know, because in fact, we all are customers. We all are in this threat of being emailed, you know, too often, or, you know, pop-up and all this, you know, and that is why I want to make sure that you, for example, receive the information which helps you to show this respect to your customers. So LeadHit is okay with integration as always, and as almost tool does, so that's of course. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. Myself personally would be glad to respond it and, you know, send you materials. So generally, guys, this is, I would say, this is it. Thank you for being with us. Again, if you are interested in getting the recording of this webinar of our summit of today, please send me drop me a line. We will send you the recording. I hope, and you will be, and materials, by the way, and the presentations, because, for example, if you found some data being in a too small font, then we will be able to send you the presentations of our speakers and of LeadHit, and you will be able to take a look at the details, at the names of the tools proposed by our today's speakers and all this. So again, you have our emails. Thank you. It was great having you all today. I again thank you, our speakers of today. And guys, have a great day. Cheers.